Travel has always been difficult in fiction. The wider the area involved, the faster and more direct the characters have to travel. Superman was given the power of flight only when the writers wanted him to be able to travel around the world quickly without relying on standard modes of travel. So what happens when your characters are traversing space, where normal methods of travel would be impossible? That requires some concept of faster-than-light travel. Today we're going to be talking about the different styles of FTL travel. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. The main problem with normal space travel is that the distances are literally astronomical. It would take several generations to make it to another inhabitable system by relying on standard space travel. Increasing the travel speed brings the problem of relative passage of time. The closer to the speed of light, the slower time affects you relative to everything else. So any problems would be long past by the time you got there. The normal method of getting around this is having the ship travel faster than the speed of light, which is an impossibility in normal space. Various different science fiction properties have come up with different ways to manage this, from wormholes to hyperspace to creating a warp field around the ship and even manipulating the possibilities of reality. Starting with the most basic and least explained, we have the Star Wars universe. Looking at the movies, they use hyperdrive to reach hyperspace and travel at light speeds. Now, they never really describe what this is. Do they use the drives to access a different layer of space, allowing them to travel faster relative to normal space? That is on par with a lot of other sci-fi ideas out there. The major problem with this idea is that they don't indicate how the ship enters hyperspace. Is it just the acceleration, or does the hyperdrive cause a tear that the ship moves through? Based on the fact that everything is still representative and will affect the ship in hyperspace, it raises a lot of questions. Then we have the Star Trek method, which is a bit more explained. The ship's warp drive creates what they call a warp field around the ship, allowing them to travel through subspace and at a much higher speed than possible in normal space. Think of it as an insulating field allowing them to travel through harsh conditions. It's kind of like traveling through the ocean. A human being can't just dive down and swim through the ocean due to lack of air and greatly increased pressure. But we have managed to do it by insulating our environment using a suit or vehicle to protect our bodies from the pressure and contain breathable air. For ships like the Enterprise, it's the same idea. The warp field insulates the ship, allowing it to travel through subspace and several times faster than light. Next, we're going to take a look at the FTL drives from the Battlestar Galactica universe. These are kind of explained, but not in great detail. They spool up the drive and make a jump, essentially distorting the fabric of space to travel from one point to another. The description is that it uses the dimensional transport effect, which might explain how they can disappear in one point and reappear in another almost instantaneously. The idea, as I understand it, causes the ship to move to another dimension where a short distance will allow them to come out far away. Kind of like going through a door, taking 2 steps down a hallway, and out another door that leads to the other side of a planet. There are limits on how far they can travel, though. Traveling further means that coming out in the right place is less likely, so they have the red line limit. Talking about jumps leads us to the Wing Commander series of games, which make use of jump drives and jump points. In this universe, there are various points that connect to another, enabling a ship to basically be shot through space from one to another. This method isn't as free as others to travel far distances. You have to travel from point to point. This adds the excitement of exploration to space, as you can't just travel freely. But when you find a new jump point, you have no idea where it's going to take you. Given that you keep track of where the point is, you can always get back, but who knows how far you're going to travel or what you'll find on the far side. Finally, today we're going to talk about the Hitchhiker's Guide universe, which uses several forms of faster-than-light travel. The basic method is hyperspace lanes. It's kind of like a mixture of a few different styles. A ship enters hyperspace to travel long distances, but they have to follow designated pathways, even going so far as the government creating highways to connect two places more directly. The Heart of Gold ship was created to make hyperspace travel outdated. The idea for this was to manipulate the probability field, causing the ship to travel to wherever the ratio dictates. If the probability of a ship suddenly going to Earth is 26,500,000,000 to 1, programming that ratio into the drive would cause it to happen. So there are a few examples of how science fiction has dealt with the issue of how to move a ship through space without taking too much time. What style do you prefer? Is there one that strikes a chord with you? Is there one we didn't talk about that you particularly like? Leave a comment down below, send us a tweet or a post on our Facebook page, and let us know. We always love hearing what others have to say about the topics we discuss. As always, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to prod the subscribe button down below to stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some
Cheerio!
Horrible. So that's two exchanges. Okay, so your face had way too much champagne, but is worse than your character, and has a fetish for the royal family.
Party meets up with Toto, who leads them to the castle, where they were already going from the start. Apparently, they didn't know where to go.